Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It is your girl OG Chizzy Beats.
Who?
Yes, it's still me. I've just been gone for a little bit. I had a little bit of a hiatus because I was in New York for about a month, just living life, celebrating my 24th. I even got to meet up with a subscriber and we did a collab. Just living life, being outside. So shout out to this summer. It was a great summer for me. But I am back. I missed you guys so much. And because I've been gone so long, I'm going to give you guys a 3-in-1 special. No, this is not a 3-in-1 body wash, shampoo, conditioner that you men are very fond of.
Boy, if you don't get...
This is 3 different things that I'm going to be covering in this video. The first one being the 4 chord progressions that I feel like every producer needs to have in order to consistently build good chord progressions. Then I'm going to take those chords and build them into a West Coast type of sample, and then flip that sample into a certified lover boy type beat. So if you're interested in seeing how the heck I'm going to do all of that, go ahead, keep watching, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment, and let's go ahead and get into the cook-up.
Okay, y'all. So the 4 chords that I'm going to go over during this session are the major 7th chord, the minor 7th chord, the diminished chord, and the augmented chord. So if you already know those, go ahead and skip. Like, no need for you to watch this. But for everybody that doesn't, this is your time to shine. Okay, so the first chord that I'm going to go over is the major 7th. So the major 7th chord is made out of 4 notes. The first note of the scale, the 3rd note of the scale, the 5th note of the scale, and the 7th note of the scale. So I'm in the key of C major right now. So first you're going to play your first key down. Then you're going to leave 3 spaces. This is your second key. You're going to leave 2 spaces. This is your third key. And then you're going to leave 3 spaces again. And this is your 4th. This is a major 7th chord. And this is what it sounds like. So again, the pattern that you need to know is leave 3 spaces, leave 2 spaces, leave 3 spaces, and that is a major 7th chord. All right, so now that we have the major, the next one is the minor. So the pattern that you need to build a minor 7th chord is leave 1, put your first note down, leave 2 spaces, put your third note down, leave 3 spaces, put your third note down, leave 2 spaces again, and then this is your 4th note. So 4 notes, and it is minor, and the pattern is 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 2 spaces. And this is what a minor 7th chord sounds like. Okay, we are halfway through. So the last 2 chords are a little bit different. They sound weird, but they're a great way to add tension to your music. And the first one I'm going to go over is the diminished chord. So like I said, a diminished chord does not sound great at first by itself. You're like, what's going on? It doesn't sound right. But like I said, it's a great way to add tension because it's like, ooh, this sounds kind of weird, but I'm looking to resolve into a better sounding chord. But the way that you build that is you put your first note, you leave 2 spaces, put your second note, leave 2 spaces again, and then you put your third note. So for the augmented chord, you need at least 3 notes. Typically, I tend to do 4 notes, so I'm just going to leave 2 spaces again and leave 1. But as you can see, for the diminished chord, the only key that you need to know is have 2 spaces in between every chord, and it's going to sound like this. So like I said, kind of weird, but when you play it in context with other chords, it sounds great. So the last chord that everybody needs to know is the augmented chord. The augmented chord is like so. First note, leave 3 spaces. Second note, leave 3 spaces. Third note. And again, you can add 4, 5, 6 notes to this as long as you have 3 spaces in between each note. So I'm going to put 4 notes all together and it sounds like this. Okay, so it sounds ugly, but when you see how you can incorporate it with other notes, with other chords, it sounds great. So those are the 4 chords every producer needs to know. So now that I got those, let's go ahead and see what I was able to cook up with these chords. Okay, so like I said, I use these chords to build kind of like a West Coast-ish loop. Let me actually play that for y'all so you kind of know how it sounds. It sounds very busy because there's a lot of elements because I was thinking, oh, I'm going to make a full beat out of this. But I ended up flipping it into a certified lover boy type loop because I'm like that. But this is what the loop sounds like. I'm actually going to take the vocals out because it sounds really crazy with everything together. So I can definitely hear this with some nice West Coast drums. I even added West Coast drums, but I took them out once I realized what I wanted to do. But let me show you the chord progression I came up with those 4 chords I talked about. So I used an electric piano that is stock to FL Studios. So I'm only going to talk about the chords first. So this is a major 7th chord. This is an augmented chord because you see the 3 spaces in between everything. Then I went into a minor 7th chord because you see the 2, 3, 2 spacing pattern. And then I ended the chord progression with a diminished chord. So 2 spaces in between. This is what the chord progression sounds like. So it's super pretty. It's super pretty. I can't even lie. Like, I love a good sounding chord progression. And as you can see, these augmented chords, I usually leave them at the end of a major or a minor chord just because it's a great way to bridge into a new chord. It just adds tension. Like, but then you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you're like, oh, this is kind of ugly. And then it's good again. So that's the best way for me to kind of explain what tension is. But I used that chord progression and added a top line melody. So it sounds like this. So super simple. So once I had that, what I did next was I went into Flex the Goat. Picked out this guitar called Dark Star Hybrid, and I took the chords and I just chopped them up a little bit just to add some bounce to it. And altogether, this is what it sounds like. So what I did to get my guitar to sound like this is I added a couple of different effects. I added a fruity reverb too. I turned up the size, the decay, the wetness, and turned up the low cut. I added ambient, which is a free reverb plugin. Then I went ahead and added fruity flangus because like fruity flangus is the goat. It just sounds good. And then I added a parametric EQ to just cut out some low end and some high end. So without the effects, this is what it sounds like. And with effects, it sounds like this. So a world of a difference. Then the next element I added to this was this lead from Expand. It's called Wine Lead 1. So this is the lead melody that I came up with. So I kept it simple, used the same melody. The effects that I added to this was a fruity delay 2, and I added a fruity reverb to turning up the size, the wetness, and a little bit of everything. So without the effects, this is what it sounds like. And with the effects, it sounds like this. The next elements that I added to this was just a little piano melody, and it sounds like this. And the only effect that I used to this was I just used FL keys. I put on Fruity Flangus, Vinyl, which is a free plugin, and I just turned up the warp a little bit, and then I used Fruity Reverb to just turning up the size and the wetness a bit. So the last element I decided to add to this West Coast loop was a arcade. I wanted to add some vocals. Y'all seen how my vocals sound? And I didn't want to do that again. So I used this bank called Hooked Dream Team, and this is what it sounds like. So yeah, I really like that a lot. And the effects that I added to this were, I used a parametric EQ. I put on the radio preset. Then I added Fruity Reverb 2. And I put on Valhalla Supermassive on the default. And then I put on Fruity Love Filter and I put it on the melodic bandpass. And I just messed around with this knob. So altogether, this is how the loop sounds like. Okay, so once I had that West Coast loop going on, my mind is always like reverse, reverse, reverse. Like I always want to see what reverse sounds like. So I reversed it and I pitched it down 400 cents and it sounded like this. So quite chaotic. But when I was listening to it, I found that there were pockets and sections that I really liked. They just weren't arranged the right way. So what I did is I chopped it up. So these are the chops that I developed. Really just trial and error. I chop something, I move it. I was really actually just doing this very blindly and just like what sounds good, and it ended up sounding really good. And altogether, the chops sounded like this, and I pitched down an additional 300 cents, and this is what it sounds like. So it sounded really cool to me. I really liked it. Um, and once I figured out that's the chop that I wanted to go with, I went back and basically rendered out all my individual melodies from the West Coast loop into audio, and I just chopped it up the same way. And I just structured it out. And I would say the key piece of this that really makes it sound like Certified Lover Boy or Brent or Drake or Slack or Black is the vocals reversed. I pitched it down so it sounds like this. So that sounds super cool. The lead surprised me. I thought the lead would sound crazy, but pitched down and reversed, it sounds really good. It sounds like this. And then the last thing that is not crucial because it's not necessary for all beats, but what I found works a lot if you're trying to get like an underground reverse type of sound is using a guitar like and having hella reverb on it and reversing it. Make a little melody. It could sound crappy, but if you reverse it, it's gonna sound pretty decent. And this is what the reversed chopped guitar sounds like. So once I had that, the next thing that I wanted to add was a bass line. So I went to the Drum Collection, which is a kit produced by Jack. And I used his riser bass, and I came up with this bass line. So yeah, I really like this a lot. I love this little slide right here, but it really complements the melody that I came up with. And the next thing I did is I came up with an alternate version of the bass using produced by Loner. He just came out with a new kit. He dropped the light version and he's going to drop the full version later, I think. And I used the 808 double take. I liked how it sounded a lot. And this is kind of like a different sounding bass line. It's just kind of like on the off beats of the melody. And I think I would use it for the chorus, for the verses. So yeah, if you play the bass line along with the chopped up and reversed melody they came up with, this is what it sounds like. So yeah, the last element that I added to this beat was two drum loops. So the first one without any effects sounds like this. And the next drum loop I added, or percussion loop, sounds like this without any effects. So yeah, these were both great ways to add texture to the beat. And what I did was that I put them both on the same channel. I used the parametric EQ to cut out a lot of the low end and the high end. And then I added gross beat on chaos 1. It sounds like this. So yeah, those are all the elements that I had to this loop. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to arrange it and just play out part of the melody for you guys. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this far. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you got to the end of this video, drop the smiley face with the cowboy hat in the comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next video.